Well, since you guys last saw the Worthington, I got quite a bit done to it. I got both rear brake setups freed up and the master cylinder pulled out, which turned out to be junk, and that sits right here underneath the axle. So I brought that to a brake place down the road, and they're going to see what they can match up for just something that'll fit to work for brakes. So this side, I got the cable freed up and the shoes aren't in it right now, so everything is rolling as it should. That way we can move it. So when I get the parts in, I also need a brake spring too, because that broke. So hopefully I can get the brakes back together. So I did fire this engine up yesterday, and I'll throw a clip in here of it running. It fired up pretty good. It took some cranking, but it also smokes like you wouldn't believe. So I'm gonna have to figure out what's going on with it. I did a leak down test on this, and it turns out I don't know which way the cylinders are numbered, so I'm just gonna call this number 3 for now from the back. So the number 3 cylinder has 0 compression at top dead center with the valves both shut, but it is leaking out of the exhaust manifold. So you can see here that both of the lifters are spinning. So I don't know if there's something just sitting underneath the edge of the valve that's holding it down and it's sucking up oil. You know, if the guides are worn, it might be sucking up oil from inside of here and burning it. Quite a bit of it actually. So what I think I'm going to do is pull a distributor off, drain down the radiator, and I'm going to pull the head off, and we're going to take a look underneath and see how all the pistons and everything are and take a look at it. So alright, I got the radiator and the block all drained down. I also got the elbow with the thermostat off the top of the head. All the head bolts are loose. Some of the studs came out with the nuts because of the excessive amount of paint that somebody put on it. So unfortunately we popped the head up, and what it's doing is it's hitting this fitting on the back of the water pump, and it's just barely misses it, unfortunately. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to jam nut the rest of the studs that are in. I've got one here, here, here. I got 4 more. I'm going to pull the studs out, and then I should be able to get this head off. Well folks, it's been about a week since you saw those last clips, and since then I got a bunch of stuff pulled apart on the Worthington. As you can see here, I got the flywheel and all the clutch parts, and they don't seem to be in too bad a shape. The pressure plate I'm going to try to save. I'm going to sandblast it, and the clutch still has some life left on it before it hits the rivets, and whether I'm going to reuse it or not, I'd like to, for as much as it's going to get driven, but we'll see. And the flywheel, that just needs to be cleaned up. Again, it's not pitted or anything, luckily, so that'll clean up nice. But as you can see here, I got the engine on the engine stand from it. I got the head pulled off and everything, and I figured out the problem was worn valves and guides, and they're actually worn pretty good. I got one of the exhaust valves right here that I pulled out, and you can see it was all carboned up on the side, and there's also a wear mark right here, and that's a 15 thousandths difference, that wear mark. So they were just pulling up oil like crazy and burning it, because you can see I have an exhaust port here and here inside, and it's just loaded with oil. So that was the reason for all that heavy smoke. So I'll be pulling those out. I'm going to drive the guides down. I don't have a press or anything, so I'm going to try to press them out with a drift and a hammer. And I should be able to, hopefully, and then I can push them back in. I'm going to have to relap them. The only problem I'm really going to run into is this valve seat here. The valve was moving like this as it came down, and it wore out one side of the seat. So I'm going to have to get a valve seat cutter and either recut this seat or do a whole lot of lapping to get that to seal again, but we'll see. The pistons don't seem to be in too bad a shape. This was board 40 over at one point. The head is stamped, or the block, top of the block, and they don't have a lot of play or anything, so I think those are good. It's just a matter of getting these valves out, getting the new set back in, and then this should be good to go and everything. And luckily, I was also able to get a overhaul manual on this thanks to Unit Crane 514 on YouTube. Big thanks goes out to you, Mike, because I couldn't find manuals for this anywhere else online. So definitely a good guy. You ought to check out his channel. He's got some cool stuff on it. So, but anyways, this is the kit here. I got the valve guides and the valves, brand new, and springs and keepers. So hopefully you can get these done this weekend. I'll be pushing those ones out. Then I can get this thing back together. I got the head gasket for it, the manifold gasket, and it's just a matter of getting those clutch parts cleaned up and I can slip the whole thing back together. So anyways, folks, that's about it. I'm going to be doing another video here coming up after this one where we'll be taking care of this engine and installing all the valves.